If the Federal Reserve can float trillions of dollars to large financial institutions at low interest rates to grow the economy, surely they can float the Department of Education the money to fund our students, keep us competitive, and help grow our middle class.
That was Massachusetts Senior Senator Elizabeth Warren introducing her first piece of legislation in the Senate today. The bill is designed to give students relief from high interest rates on federal loans, which are scheduled to double on July 1st, from 3.4% to 6.8%. Senator Warren's bill would allow students to borrow at the same rate that big banks pay to the Federal Reserve, which is currently about 0.75%.
In other words, the federal government is going to charge interest rates 9 times higher than the rates they charge the biggest banks, the same banks that destroyed millions of jobs and nearly broke the economy. That isn't right.
Senator Warren, thank you very much for being here on your debut as a legislator on the Senate floor. How did that feel to go out there and do that?
It felt good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
And you're ahead of schedule of the other first-year senators. They usually wait a while in doing this, but this thing just makes so much sense.
That's it, and we can't afford to wait. You know, if Congress does nothing, July 1st, the kids are going to face a doubling of the interest rate on their new student loans. We just can't do that.
And what's the process for this? What committees does it have to get through? And
So HELP would be the right committee. That's what I fought to get on. So I'm on banking and HELP, health, education, labor, and pensions. Although we could take it straight to the floor.
Right.
You know,
it's a very simple. This is a simple bill. I happen to have my copy right here. I want to get an autographed copy before you go. But it's very simple. It's just changing some numbers. It is easy to legislate. You know, it has the one flaw that it has. I think as something for the United States Senate today, it makes too much sense.
Now.
Senator, this makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Why would they do that?
Yeah. But you know, that is the point now. We really have a chance to do some things that make sense. And this, for me, is really about grassroots legislation, getting lots of people involved, getting students involved, their families involved, anybody who looks at this and says, wait a minute, let me get this straight. We, the taxpayers, make this investment in big financial institutions. Can't we make just the same investment in our students who are trying to get an education? Because look, we do this for the banks because we believe that this is going to help the economy, right? Help us on a shaky recovery. Same thing is true for our students. The Fed came out with a study in March. They said that student loan debt, you know, which has a real impact on the family's bottom line, is threatening our recovery. And so let's do the same thing for the students. Let's help them get their education, lend them the money, make them pay it back, but just help them out on the interest rate. That gives us a first start in helping our students get an education. It's not the whole fix, it's not the whole deal, but it's a good first start on the direction.
So for me to oppose your bill, I have to stand up there and say, oh, yeah, sure. Less than 1% is a perfectly reasonable interest rate for giant banking institutions. But you don't want a student to get an interest rate like that.
That's right.
That would be my
That's going to have to be your pitch.
Right.
That's exactly right. And you might point out that student loans right now, for every dollar that the U.S. taxpayer is putting into student loans, right now the government's getting 36 cents back in profits. So the students are a profit center right now for the government. The kids who are out there struggling to get an education, but not those big financial institutions. Come on, let's just have a little fairness here. It's such an
interesting cross current of Elizabeth Warren expertise. You're an educator. Yeah. This is an education and a tuition oriented bill, but it also involves the big financial structures of this country, the advantages they get against the little guy who has no advantages. You've always been in this zone of the consumer versus the big financial structures.
Look, this is why I ran for the United States Senate. This is what it's all about. The big banks, they got an army of lobbyists out there. They got an army of lawyers to fight for them. Our students have just their voices, and they call on us to do the right thing. And that's what we need to do. It's what we need to do here.